Yo, what's up guys, and today I'm back with another video. Today we're doing another scenario from Kubernetes Goat, and it's called Kubernetes Namespace Bypass. So let's just get into it. So let's first read the overview. Well, this is a big misconception in the Kubernetes world. Most people assume that when there's a different namespace in Kubernetes and the resources are deployed and managed, they are secure and not able to access each other. Many real-world multi-tenant environments are getting exploited and critical resources are exposed internally due to this. By default, Kubernetes comes with a flat networking schema, and if we need to have segmentation, then we have to create them by creating certain boundaries like NSP, network security policies, and others. In this scenario, we'll learn how we can bypass the namespaces and access other other namespaces resources. So here this is basically simple two Kubernetes node here, and this is one node has a hacker's machine here, and it basically is accessing the Kubernetes node on a different namespace. So yeah, and basically shows how you can just go through the API server and stuff like that. So flat networking scheme. So by the end of the scenario, we'll basically understand and learn the following. So we'll understand the misconception of Kubernetes namespaces, learn about the Kubernetes networking flat schema, and communicating across namespaces, performing the reconnaissance and testing for the network port scanned vulnerabilities. Performing the reconnaissance and testing for the network port scanning and vulnerabilities, and also gaining access to other namespaces resources by bypassing the namespaces restrictions. So here is a story. So by default, Kubernetes uses the flat networking schema, which means basically any pod or service within the cluster can talk to each other. So if your pod or service is not in the cluster, you can't talk to that pod. So no other clusters, no other pods outside the cluster cannot talk to the pod inside the cluster. So the namespaces within the cluster do not have network security restrictions by default. Anyone in this namespace can talk to the other namespace. We heard that Kubernetes Goat loves cache. Let's see if we gain access to other namespaces. So to get started with this scenario, let's just run the hacker container in the default namespace. So that's basically how to get started, and basically the goal of this scenario is basically get the cache store and obtain the K8 flag under the flag value to complete the scenario. So we'll see you then. So see you guys. So to get started in the scenario, we just need to copy the kubectl run the code snippet, and basically what this will do is spin up a pod, and then it will basically exec into it when sh. I did this in more of a pod way, so I ran the command and I exited, and it just creates a pod and wait for it to start running, and then you can exec into it. I do kubectl pods here, and now you see the hacker container is running. So kubectl, I just do exec tag it, and then the pod name, and then I just do a bash shell in here so we can continue on with our scenario. So wait for that, and we see we get it back. So here what we can do is basically try to get our IP address and the IP route. So what we can do here is basically IP route, and we see the IP route is that, and ifconfig to get basically the actual configuration, our IP address and our MAC address, which is going to be important to us later on. So clear, and now what we can do is go back to our website and just do simple ifconfig, and we need to do as zmap. Zmap is basically for actually enumerating the in the network to see if there's any other alive IP addresses, which will most likely be other namespaces. So yep. So here we see zmap tag p, which scans all ports and our IP range, and we just output that into a results s.scv. CSV, sorry. So paste that in, and we see we get an error here. This is a null error, basically a blacklist type error. So what we do here is just do v etc zmap config, and we see here the blacklist file is basically sent equals to here, this file. So what we can do for that is just comment it out. So yep, do that, and to save in v, it's like, yes, wk thing there. So now we need a MAC address. So what we can do here now is do the if config to get our MAC address, and this is what I said, it will be better info later on. So we see that's a MAC address, so we just copy that in. So obviously your MAC address would be different from mine, so yeah, so EA, stuff like that. So now we just press enter, and we see it's running. This does usually take some time, so make sure, so just like leave it running, and all the results will be outputted into a file. So now we see it's finished running here. Now we can do clear, and we can cat our results.csv. And here we see we got one address back. Now what we do, we use Redis to get into the address. So Redis tag h, and we just put in the IP address, and we're connected to this namespace. So now we basically got a hold of the namespace. So what we can do here now is do keys, or capital keys, and also this will basically tell us all the stuff inside the database. And we see here we got something called get secret stuff, so we just do get secret stuff, and here we basically got the flag. So this is a simple scenario on how accessing different namespaces can be unsecure, and it can lead to hacking. So if we don't have an NSP, which we should, because then it provides network security policies saying which people can access this and which people can't. So that's a simple Kubernetes namespace bypass, and yeah, that's it. So see you guys next time. Peace.